Hello, welcome to the new moon in Taurus and a very interesting and important time in Canada. Well, and I believe, not just for Canada, but for the world, based on who wins our federal election. A lot of things could change, regardless of what side. And it's not lost on me that our election is happening on a new moon. And it's happening in Taurus. Sign of stability, finances, routines, being grounded, comfort. And at this degree, 7 degrees, it has already seen its Uranus transit. If you're a Taurus and you're born near Gemini, 26 degrees and up, so really right at the end of Taurus, so the late May Tauruses, you guys are seeing Uranus on your sun. But for this new moon, it's not going to touch it, which means the sun and moon in Taurus are going to give some solidity, some grounding to us this new moon for everybody. And that is the mood, the theme, the mood. But we're going to take a deeper look at the chart. So first of all, I'd like to say if you enjoy my content or it's your first time here, welcome. Please click and subscribe and please share it. And a lot of people stick around and watch the entire video. They tell me they watch all the signs. They learn astrology by watching me analyze the chart. I'm considering setting up some astrology 101 type courses online. It's been on my mind for a long time, and it's a matter of figuring out what platform and how to break it down into different modules. But I'm seriously considering that. So if you're interested in that, I'd love it if you would message me or write to me and let me know. Otherwise, I have my Intuition Cafe group that's free, and we're close to 500 members now. Pretty organic because I don't really mention it that much, except here and once in a while online. So I'm pretty happy that it's organically grown to the level it has, and it's to practice your intuition with other people. I might just shoot out a question some days for consideration. I might put out tips. I might, I share the workshops that I'm doing. But, I might ask your gut feeling on something that's just going on right now that's current in the news. I might ask you, what's your own feeling of how life's going to go for you next month? It might be personal. It might be bigger than us. It might be an image of something, a room, a scenario, and I will ask you a question based on your gut feeling. So if you'd like to practice that and join us, it's a free group. You can join below. All the links are below. And if you'd like to sign up for my newsletters, we never know what's coming in these times. So many changes are happening, and the safest secure bet, if you like people's work, is to follow them on their newsletters. So if you want to keep in touch with me, sign up for my newsletter. I'll have the links down below. So let's take a look now. We're just into Taurus season, and the new moon and the sun are in Taurus, and we're going to take a look at the rest of the chart now. All right. And as usual, this is based on Eastern Standard Time. So if you are in the Eastern Standard Zone, so New York City, Toronto, Miami, then it has a Virgo as a rising sign, which is interesting too. Lots of Earth cares about what is tangible. Don't tell me blah, blah, blah. Like, let's show me how, show me the money, show me the results. If it's not real, you don't want it. That's very much Earth. We do have some challenges to this moon, though, so we're going to take a look. As you can see, there's some definite red lines and squares going on here. Mars has moved into Leo, and it is squaring the sun and moon. Pluto is in Aquarius, as we know, and it is also squaring sun and moon, and it's also opposing Mars. So this is another big part of what's going on right now. Even though you can see the chart looks a little more light and open in a way. Sometimes I look at charts and just the configuration gives me a feeling. And this one, again, just like the last one we looked at, a little more complicated in this one with Mars and Pluto. But even at the full moon, there was like an arrow kind of configuration pointing one way and everything converging. And we're still getting that sort of feeling again of an arrow. Mars is making very good aspects over here to Venus, Saturn, and Neptune. And yeah, Mercury as well. So South Node, that whole cluster. And then Pluto is helping it out. Uranus is helping it out. And it's happening in the 7th house, which is relationships, partnerships, and open enemies. So Jupiter is in Gemini at the top of the chart. Now, in terms of, I'm going to speak about Canada's election more so in this video than I usually do. But I have also, as you know, talked about American politics a lot and when it's relevant to North America in the chart. This time, having Jupiter at the midheaven or the top of the chart for our elections, because Ottawa would be in the Eastern time zone. Well, Jupiter in Gemini accentuates all the choices, the multitudinous choices, the many aspects, the many faces of the many sides of the issue or the politician. Lots of talking is going to happen, lots and lots and lots of times already, but you know, it might just increase, which makes sense before an election too. So does that give us more solidity in our choices? Jupiter and Gemini typically wouldn't. No, it would typically add more choices. So it doesn't really give us an indication of winner loser, and I'm not going to predict it either. I have a feeling who's going to get in, but yeah, I'd rather not say out loud, and the chart doesn't really tell us. I could pull up the chart of the two of the candidates, but I already did look at those beforehand. And in my opinion, the planets are favoring the Liberal leader based on lots of things looking at the chart. So let's just take a look in general, shall we? So the sun and the moon in Taurus in the 8th house. This is about money. Sun and moon in Taurus are so concerned with routines and security, predictability. What can they count on? They don't want it to change. 8th house is all about other people's money. So we're talking about investments. We're talking about inheritance, grants. Sometimes it can be social services when it's other people's money. And there's going to be enormous focus on money, whether it's in your life or in the big picture of things. And it's, of course, with tariffs, what's all we're hearing about is tariffs and how it's going to impact everyone. So yes, the whole world is very concerned with solidifying their own financial picture. Every individual and every country, industry. So how is that looking? If it were just Sun and Moon in Taurus, well, it'd be very practical, grounded about it. Would choose very solid, long-term, slow growth, safe things. And having that in the 8th house, you know, if I saw this in somebody's natal chart, Sun and Moon in Taurus in the 8th, I would tell them you don't need to worry about money in this life. You're a good investor. You will either manage other people's money or you will receive people's money. You won't have trouble. There will always be funds there for you. So the challenge then is Mars and Pluto squaring them and opposing each other. So let's talk a bit about that. First of all, Mars in Leo is all about asserting yourself and being bold and being courageous and being passionate and shining. Here I am, world. You know, Mars and Leo is like, they're on stage. They're the rock star. Here I am. Now, Mars and Leo could be quite showy. They could be very romantic, demonstrative, loud, passionate. It's fire. Mars and fire is going to be active. It's going to do stuff. Mars and Leo is going to be somebody that yells or screams at the football game or sings at the top of their lungs or tells you they love you. They're going to be demonstrative. They don't have any qualms about drawing attention to themselves as they express who they are. Now, how does that square off with Sun and Moon in Taurus? Well, they would both find that quite gauche. Oh, why do you have to call so much attention to yourself? Why do you have to try so hard? Why do you have to be so loud? Can't you just be discreet? Can't you just be calm? You know, won't like hard work or something simple and solid just show for itself? Why do you have to put on all the bells and whistles and wear red? Sound familiar? Are you going through this in yourself in any way? Wondering if you should just sort of stay chill and calm and on the down low, lay low, or whether you're feeling like you've got to show people who you are and be more extroverted and get out there, whether you're trusting a connection with somebody that it's self-evident, it's just going to grow over time, it's solid, or do you really want to give them a gift, you know, and take them somewhere special? And when it comes to money, well, Mars is in the 11th house here, which is community and groups. So if there's any challenge to the sense of security and stability and long-term planning with money, it would be coming from different groups that are going to demonstrate, yes, could be protests, could be strikes. The group will be very loud and unmistakable and get quite a bit of attention on them for their cause against what the Sun, Moon, and Taurus would like, which is just like, could we just quietly and discreetly talk about my long-term portfolio without anyone knowing? Thank you very much. Close the book. Mars and Leo in the 11th would be like a rallied group of people dressed in, you know, in something outrageous, yelling outside your office, "Where did you spend it?" So yeah, we might see fierce opposition to financial plans and spending. That might not be a bad thing, right? This Mars and Leo might take these planets to task and make them accountable and say, hey, you're not thinking of the greater good. 11th house, the community. You're thinking of you. Or maybe a few other interests. but you're not thinking of the collective, which would be 11th house, the good of everybody. So I would assume we're going to see more square offs, scrutiny about money and plans and budgets. Again, with our Canadian election, both costed platforms have been put forth in the public now. And, there's a few days to go. And I'm sure that's all we're going to do is hear about why are you spending this and where are you spending that, which is fine. We need to know. We need to talk about all of this. But the protest angle is interesting. And, I'm sure we're going to see some more. Now, in your own life, you might not be out there protesting. Maybe you're feeling torn between your own sense of like long-term planning for your life, your future, your career, your finances, what you're going to invest yourself in, what's worth your energy, what's worth spending on. And Mars and Leo would be either giving it back to the community or to friends, spreading it around. Or you could be, purely Mars and Leo, might be more interested in spending it on something fun or something extravagant or something that just feels like I just got to do me. I need that fur coat. Hopefully it's not fur coats, but you get the idea. I need this glamorous disco ball for my, for my new art studio. Mars, like Taurus would say, not very practical. That money could have gone to like, 10 more dinners for the week, like 10 more meals. So you're dealing with serious practicality versus I just got to be me in your own life. Or you might be struggling with that. Maybe if it's, yourself and your kids, or you and your parents, or between spouses, So that's one of the squares. Now, the second square is Pluto with Sun, Moon, and Taurus. Pluto's in Aquarius down here in the 5th house, which is usually ruled by a Leo, which is your creativity and, dating and kids, youthfulness, art. And so Pluto is transforming, that house. And it's interesting then, because if we bring up themes from the 5th house, squaring off with, this Sun, Moon, and Taurus investor, banker kind of feeling. Where's the money being spent, right? Leo over here is saying, spend it on community, spend it on groups, spend it on diversity, share it with the public, share the wealth. Down here, Pluto is saying, spend it on children, spend it on preserving and helping the youth. On that could include also babies, then young parents, young families, young mothers. Education could fall under youth. And also there could be pushback about something to do with the arts. And of course, if you've been following here, one of our politicians wants to abolish the CBC, which ain't such a great idea, in my opinion. So public broadcasting could potentially fall under this as well. So lots of challenges there's lots of money here. Where are you spending it? Where's your accountability, and to whom? And which groups are going to make the most noise? So the interesting thing is that Mars and Pluto are also opposing. Let's talk a bit more about Pluto and Aquarius versus Taurus planets in general. So Pluto and Aquarius in the 5th house would be extremely creative and revolutionary and innovative. It wants to do things in a different, fresh way, and it wants to do it in a way that doesn't care if it breaks the rules. In fact, if it breaks the rules, probably even better. So think about an artist where every canvas is a square and they decide they're going to paint in a circle. And someone says, well, why isn't it a square? We've always done it for squares for centuries. And Pluto and Aquarius would go, yeah, so circles are valid. Why can't we paint on circles? You know, and it's the same thing with other kinds of creative innovation. You know, if you're, when it comes to elections and governments, could it be policies that are outside the usual box of thinking? When it comes to our own lives, could it be, you know, not following the rules when you build something, but you still built it anyway? Could it be, you know, not worrying about the tradition of methods that are normally used or that are considered traditional, but maybe you find a different way that bypasses it that's just as good or better? So again, Taurus seeks to keep the status quo for the sake of stability and security. So Pluto in Aquarius is more of a threat than Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo just wants to make a lot of noise and wants to be passionate and out there, which does disrupt Taurus, you know, decorum and simplicity and, you know, just charm, like calm down and be charming to other people and don't take up too much space. Like it's a different level of threat to the Taurus mindset, the Leo. The Leo is just like, oh God, this person's just so loud and messy. Why can't they just tone it down? But it's very different than the threat to Taurus from Aquarius, which is, we don't even like the way you're doing this. The way you're doing it's wrong. We're going to start fresh. We're going to bust apart your nice little picket fence idea doesn't fly anymore. It's not the way the world is. So it's a much deeper threat, existential kind of threat to a Taurus mindset, with Pluto and Aquarius squaring in that. So what's that mean for us is like, well, you probably feel it. Most of us feel that there's lots of threats to our security in life as the way we know it, as the way we knew it. The world is the way we knew it. Everybody's going through it on some small, in some way, large or small. Thing is, we have to remember that just because Pluto might come along and do it a different way doesn't mean it's going to be worse. It could bypass and break open some very long-standing, old school kind of ways of thinking and doing things that are there's nothing wrong with them, but there could be even better. But there's a lot of rebelliousness with Pluto and Aquarius. So again, because it's in the 5th house of creativity and kids and playfulness and art, I mean, there's still a rebellious feeling in the air. Now, Mars opposite Pluto is also difficult. They're opposing. This is two, you know, these are all the squares here we're talking about are in fixed signs, making them even more stubborn in where they stand. And Pluto in Aquarius represents the new world. Excuse me. Innovation, diversity, tribalism, outer space, new methods of energy. Uranus rules Aquarius and rules astrology as well, and the occult. Sun, Moon, and Taurus are in the 8th house, which is also an occult house. So there's a very deep shift in our beliefs and our values, and a new world that is hatching. And I think we know that. And we're just now, I think a lot of people accepting that that's what's happening and just nervous what it's going to look like and what can we do with it? How can we feel secure and prosper in this new world that's hatching before our eyes? What's it going to bring to us? Pluto in Aquarius represents that relentless drive for innovation. Mars in Leo is opposite, and it wants to just call attention to itself. And it's going to be, as I said, very stubborn and passionate and yell about it a lot. But it can't stop this progress. So it's really sort of like, you know, like a loud battle cry against the troops that are coming over the hill. It's oppositional forces that can be very destructive with Mars and Pluto. It can move mountains. It can change the world, Mars and Pluto opposite. It could be, Leo can also be, the lion can be very courageous. You might see a group, could be an individual representing a group or the community, social justice. I mean, in the States, we could sort of liken this Mars and Leo in the 11th house to Bernie Sanders and the, hands-off kind of movement with all the protests and people stepping up very passionately, out speaking there on platforms, out there on the news media, taking on, like David and Goliath. And Pluto in Aquarius is a little more sort of like the covert tech bro populist side of things that is rising and not letting us know what it's going to do, and then springs it on us, and we have to scramble and adapt to things that are being taken away or transformed or reformed into something else. So there's definitely a battle cry or a taking on the giant. So, and all the while we have this strong pull in Taurus, which is just wanting everybody to just calm down and think this through and just be the adult and like, okay, all change can happen and you can get what you need, but could we all just calm down and talk about this a little more rationally without all the drama so we have less destruction? That's what Taurus would like. So we've really got some sort of, like for years, astrologers, we've all been saying a revolution is coming when Pluto goes into Capricorn. It didn't happen during Pluto and Capricorn. It happened during Pluto and Aquarius in history, and it happened during Neptune and Aries in history. We're still not there, but we're seeing the beginnings, aren't we? So what else is contributing here? Once again, Uranus is trine Pluto. So even though Uranus is in Taurus, which hates change, as we've been saying for many years now, this is like the wake up, shake up, earthquake mode of any of our secure, stable, predictable systems. Our food system, our banking system, our housing, all the very basic, I need to be safe and secure in the world, have been under little earthquakes for years with Uranus there. It's going to move into Gemini this year, and things will change, and it will start to put the upheaval into communications and technology. And neighborhoods and small cities. So a lot of things are going to change as that shifts, but for now we're still in the last battle. However, it is making a trine or a long blue line here to Pluto. Again, this relentless force of change and a new world that is bigger than us, that is upon us, whether we like it or not. But we do obviously collectively have some say in how it plays out and shapes out to be. We're not powerless. It's just that we feel very overwhelmed by the level and intensity of change in such a short time. And the south node in Virgo also helping out these planets here. This is, well, see, I would call that a trine. 7 degrees, yeah. I would call that a trine as well. So the south node in Virgo helping out these planets as well. Again, I get this feeling of like needing these voices of reason, people that can be calm and go into the details and the methods. You know, if you have to move house, you can do it without packing any boxes and be like a complete train wreck going up and down and back to your car and leaving things in piles in your new place and not knowing where you put what, right? You'll still get moved. Or you can be like a Virgo moving and everything has been pre-packed and labeled. So you just go, oh, I want those in that room. Stack them there, please. And everything's written and your move is meticulous and organized, right? And it's the same thing in a way with many other changes going on. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's not a matter, it's not like, yes, there's chaos and things being sprung upon us right now that we can't control, but at the same time, there's a lot to be said for planning, how you go about adapting to and enacting major changes. And we need these calm, earthy, methodical, stable voices in the room so that Mars-Pluto doesn't turn into a full-on fist fight or rebellion. So in our own lives, you know, what can that mean? Like maybe part of you is feeling internally torn. Again, self-expression, being passionate, being bold versus being very calm and practical versus wanting to just sort of scrap it all and start fresh and have a new life. You know, maybe you're like, well, if we use a house analogy or apartment or whatever, Sun and Moon in Taurus doesn't want to move. I've lived here for 25 years. I'm not moving. It's fine. Yeah, this needs fixing. Yeah, I'm tired of everything's outdated. I don't care. This is my house. Mars and Leo. I'm going to renovate it. I love where we are, but it needs redoing. We're going to knock down this wall. We're going to paint this fresh. We're going to get new cupboards. We're going to do. That's Mars and Leo. Pluto and Aquarius is like, not even going to bother. Let's just move. Let's just move. You see the difference? So you could be going through that with your job. Oh, I've been here forever. Just hang on. Oh, I've lived where I've lived forever. You know, let's just keep it stable. Yeah, I'm bored. It's not fulfilling, but it's secure. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Mars and Leo is like, no, I can't. I've got to have a promotion. I've got to do what I came here to do. There's more to life than what I'm doing. There's better places to work. There's better places to live. And Pluto and Aquarius is like, start fresh. Gonna move. Quit. Get something new. Just leave it. Just don't even try to fix it. Just build something else. This is the tension that we're in right now. regardless of whether it's applying to brand new governments, fixing the policies we have in the place, fixing the system we have, or scrapping it, right? In the US, we see like Musk with Doge trying to just scrap it all. And then we see people like Sanders out there fighting to keep what we had and preserve it. And then, I don't know, perhaps the Taurus side is all the people that are just silently working in the background as they always have. Keeping the machine rolling and waiting and seeing. So interesting dynamics going on, and that's just a little part of the chart here. Now, Mars is also supported, though, as we said. Whew, pardon me. So all of that bold energy and gotta protest and gotta express and gotta get out there and gotta spruce things up and make them mine and gotta get a promotion and gotta be ambitious and do my own things and all that passion. It's lining up well with Mercury in Aries, Neptune in Aries, Venus in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, and North Node in Pisces. So again, this big cluster that's happening in the 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and open enemies. Jupiter is squaring off with that in Gemini, which I've been saying for the last few charts. Jupiter seems to be standing out there all alone, this Gemini planet going, I just want to do everything. Can't we do like 10 things at once with like 15 different groups on 7 different days? I can do it. We'll do it. Let's do it. Want me to, oh, you want me to be a chameleon and adapt? You know, we saw that during our live debates. We saw one of our candidates try to change personas at least 5 times on stage. It came off very contrived, but still, that's a very Jupiter and Gemini thing. Like, let's wear 7 hats, you know? Let's be everything to all people. Now, that doesn't fly very well with Aries and Pisces planets in the 7th house, which are like, dude, you know, you've got to be showing compassion and stability, and you've got to be like singular. We need to know who are you, and do you care about people? You might be going through that with individuals in your life. Like, who is this person? Who is your boss? Huh? Who is this friend? Are they wearing many sides, many filters, many masks? Could even be a sibling or a family member if they're still a bit of a mystery because they keep changing their behavior, changing the way they are with you. Jupiter in Gemini is a super chameleon. And the relationship aspect here is very much like wanting somebody who is very honest and transparent, who cares about people. So Mars in Leo is supporting all of that. So that bodes quite well, actually, despite how strong Pluto Uranus is. This bodes pretty strongly too. You know, there's more planets, even though they're not outer planets. Well, Saturn is, but Neptune are, yeah, forgive me. Those are outer planets. So it's really a toss-up right now. Which approach? But the chart does definitely point to relationships being extremely important during this new moon. Relationships and finances, it's all about money. Relationships, partnerships, and money. So in the big picture, are we talking about global trades and trade partners and alliances, unions, where to put our money? Yeah, big time. In our personal lives, same thing. Could be thinking, who's worth investing my time in? what is worth investing my money and my time in. Because Sun Moon in Taurus talks about values. And we've discussed each planet and how they behave, and they show sort of different values as well. But the Sun and Moon being in Taurus in the 8th house is very strong for the valuing slow, steady, long-term, predictable growth. The comforts and the basics of home that must be met, of the budget that must be met to sustain you. And the relationship focus, even though Mars is in Leo, where people could go off on tangents and be like, hey, it's me, look at me, listen to me, huh, me, did I mention me? Look at what I'm doing. But still, it's aligned with the rest of the planets, 5 planets in the relationship house. So maybe your group of friends or maybe your partnerships are more lively. Maybe your discussions are more lively and passionate right now. But you're really looking for like who's honest, who's transparent, who shows some depth, some compassion. And the other interesting thing about this whole chart that's very rare that we don't talk about that much, but we are in a period of time where every planet in this chart is direct, which is very rare. It's only a little 3-week window right now where all the planets are direct. So with this configuration feeling like an arrowhead, everything pointing towards partners and relations. Thinking about the values of how you want to connect to people. What qualities do you need and want in your relationships? It's super important to think about. So, let's take a look at the tarot now and see if it shows us anything else. All right, let's take a look. Just generally, what the tarot can add to this new moon message for us. All right, so the first card is the art card or the witch or the temperance card. So, and it's interesting, I'm sort of in an apothecary type background because that's exactly what this is. She's mixing her cauldron. There's an eagle and a lion. Now, the art card or the witch knows everything that must be mixed in the right time, in the right way to alchemize things that you want properly. So any of you out there who are bakers know that you need to warm or have the butter at a warm or room temperature before you start to cream it, or it's going to be a mess, right? It's just going to come off in little chunky shards and bits. It's not going to be smooth and creamy because the alchemy is the temperature plus the butter plus the beaters create buttery cream. And life can be like that too. So if you are impatient for something to happen and you're trying to do it before it's time, whether that's forcing a relationship to get closer, whether that's, the raise or the money that you want, you feel like, oh, I just need more, I want more. And if it's not quite the time yet, it will backfire. It'll be like the cold butter. It's just not time. So this is really a message about being patient and taking a look at all the things that need to be in place for your thing to work out. It does require patience and faith. Our next card, oh, two majors. Next card is the Justice card, or adjustment, or justice. And this, of course, is like the balancing act and the decisions. It can be agreements and contracts. And again, since we're talking about the 7th house being very prominent in this chart, that can be sometimes, you know, partnerships and open enemies doesn't always mean love and marriage. Sometimes contracts can also refer to marriages, divorces. But sometimes love and partnerships can be businessy and require, you know, clear agreements between people. And it doesn't need to be like in writing, but sometimes the Justice card does want things in writing. But it doesn't have to be. It's just an official agreement or decision that both parties are very clear and understand. And that could be for anything. Oh, wow, nice. Success. 6 of discs. And this is a Taurus card, Moon and Taurus card right there. So this is looking very good for all of you out there who have been aware that things happen in their own time and you've been allowing things to come together without forcing and pushing too hard or giving up too soon. If you've been just sort of sitting with, oh my goodness, I don't know how this is going to play out. This is going up and down. These people are in and out, on and off. I'm not sure. I'm just staying open to the process and like, let's see. And then you get to the table, the Justice card, where you're sitting down and you're actually saying, well, this is what I need and this is what I'd like, or that's where I'm going, or that's, you know, this is the nature of your next job. Here's your contract. Or here's the stipulations on the project or the loan or whatever we're giving you, you know, it's whatever the terms are, whatever you've been waiting for it to come together. The agreements are there. Looks very solid, and it looks like there's a real win here. So, you know, in a relationship, that would really bode well for, like, you're coming into a really good period if you've talked over things clearly. You know, a period of healing and harmony, and both people or multiple people just overall feeling good and secure and doing well, feeling secure together. If you're talking about agreements, you know, contracts or new jobs or promotions, this would bode well for your success, being paid more, getting a better job, like steady money, you know, steadiness. So these are really nice cards. I've decided I'm going to pull out something different for the readings for your sign this time. I'm not going to use my Crawley Toth Tarot here. I've decided I'm going to use my Oracle deck, and I'm going to pull a message for each sign based on the Oracle deck. And this is the Wise Witch Oracle deck. So if you like these, you can find them. I just thought it would be something a little bit different than what I usually do. All right, so it's a new moon and I'm trying something new. So open your mind and we will take a look at what your message is for your sign. So let's start with, and no, nothing more than that. Just, it's a new moon. New moons are new beginnings. It's the beginning of spring. We're planting new seeds. And these seeds, if they're in Taurus, it's nice if they are long-term and stable seeds that bring us comfort and security. So let's just see, what is your message? All right, Aries. Your message is clarity. clarity. Light a candle for clarity. Illuminate your path to your desires. So this might say that you are looking for clarity. You need some clarity. And again, I like that it's got a beautiful candle. Yeah, there we can see it better. See how beautiful? This might be a really beautiful time if you're looking for clarity, or thinking about new beginnings, to bring in a candle into your space. And you can draw a symbol on your candle. It doesn't have to be a pentagram. If you want, if you're looking for money or love, you could draw hearts or dollar signs. You could find a symbol that means something. You can draw your own sign of Aries into your candle. The rest, there's herbs and there's gems around. So it sort of suggests building an altar. So you could bring in, depending where you live, you know, you could bring in something fresh that's starting to grow from spring. You could put them on a table. You can bring in some gemstones that, or a gemstone or a piece of jewelry or something that means something for you. You can write out your wish to be, I wish to have clarity on blah. You know, light your candle, stay patient, keep it in mind what your intention is. I would like I would like clarity on X, Y, or Z, you know, and just maintain that. When you light the candle, you open your mind for anything to come through, any dreams, any strong intuitions, any flashes. You don't have to burn it all in one night. You can burn it over a week or two if you want before you get your clarity. But sometime between when you light it and when that candle is done, you maintain your focus and you will get your sign or your message of clarity on that issue. It can't be so big that, just like my life. No, that's too big. I would like clarity on my career. I would like clarity on my love life. I would like clarity on whether I move house or not. You know, something a little more concrete. Otherwise, it's a beautiful card. All right, Taurus, what is your message? Just a bit of water here. Taurus, what is your message? Your message for the new moon is wisdom. And by the way, happy birthday, Taurus. Wisdom is your heritage. Seek knowledge and preserve it. Seeking knowledge and preserving it. That's a nice message. Well, not as easy to define what you can do about wisdom, since you can't just go searching quickly for wisdom. Wisdom comes out of experience, observation, time. You could write down in a special place what wisdom you feel you have realized already in your life and keep it somewhere special. You can seek out people that you consider to be wise and ask for their advice or counsel. You can also find that in texts or books or spiritual leaders, other, you know, scientists, authors, artists that you find have wisdom. And if you seek knowledge and preserve it. So first you're in the seeking. Preserving it would be, you know, perhaps you make a decision on how you're going to alter the way you carry yourself with a certain person, situation. How are you going to preserve the wisdom that you get in touch with? You can preserve things by writing them down too. You know, a gardener would preserve their wisdom by planting a successful garden that keeps growing long past their, when they pass. They would know how to have kept the garden going and self-seeding. That'd be a wise gardener who preserved wisdom, you know? So think about your wisdom and how you'd preserve it. All right, Geminis, what is your new moon message? All right. And you have threads. Threads. Weave the threads of your dreams. Your thoughts shape your reality. Well, that makes a lot of sense for Gemini. And it's a woman sitting in a dream catcher. So the threads are the many thoughts. And if you weave your thoughts together, the way you think about one issue versus another, one person versus another, versus yourself versus the world, you know, these many, many, many threads of the way you look at life, what you believe to be true, if they are congruent and they bode well together, then you would get this feeling of weaving, or like, you know, the dream catcher is all woven and beautiful in a circle and it's tight and it's strong, right? The mental thoughts are woven strongly together. If you are all over the place and they're not congruent, then think about somebody who's just ripped their jeans apart. There's threads everywhere, but some are broken, some are ripped, some are still together. Now you've got a big hole. And that could sort of represent, you know, an unbalanced or disturbed mind in some way. So this is definitely a message to take a look at your life in terms of your thoughts and your beliefs, and take extra scrutiny if something isn't working well for you or you feel stuck, to ask yourself what your deeper thoughts and beliefs are on that. And it'll need a bit of tweaking. And that's okay. That's okay. All right, Cancers, what is your message for the new moon? I like these cards. First time I'm using them. All right. Cancers, what is your new moon message? Enlighten. Ooh, that's nice. Enlighten. Illumination is near. A period of enlightenment and clarity awaits. Well, isn't that nice to hear, Cancer? Well, you've been doing extra hard inner work. Extra hard. And you've come through the Pluto opposition cycle. Now, Neptune is going to square off if you're at the beginning of Cancer, meaning June 20th, 21st. So there's still challenges to some Cancers, not all of us yet. But there's a nice period here of just calm. Why am I yawning so much today? I have no idea. I'm so sorry, everybody. I like to say, I mean, a lot of people say when you yawn, you're sort of releasing energy and you're going to another level. Like when you yawn in therapy, they consider it a good thing. So I'm just going to say that the yawning is like releasing and letting go to. I mean, all I did was garden for, you know, about an hour. Illumination is near. A period of enlightenment and clarity awaits. So, I mean, this just to me really feels like it's a time of reward. It's a time of laying peace with yourself and saying, you know what, I've like, man, I evaluated, I went into the shadows, I looked at my dark side. Thank you very much. Like now I'm back. Now I'm like, okay, I've been to the bottom of the cave, and now I'm on my way. I'm back. I'm in the light here and I've seen it. And I'm not going back into the cave. I've been there. I know what it is. And this period of clarity is beautiful because you will shine, you will have more confidence, you will stop second guessing, and you'll stop being as vulnerable to other people's opinions, gaslighting, whatever have you. Clarity So you're good in yourself. You're headed for a good period of time for you, which is lovely. All right, let's take a look at you, Leos. What is your new moon message? Balance. Okay, balance. That's a lovely one too. So balance, harmony with nature is key. Connect with the elements for balance and wisdom. All right, well, as we've said, Mars is in your sign. Mars is in your sign. That's going to be energizing you or activating you, or for some of you, like Mars, when it's on your sun, sometimes it really energizes and pushes you ahead. It gives you a lot of will. Other times, Mars on your sun can be like an injury in some way to the self, and even sometimes physically. I'm a Cancer, so I had Mars in Cancer going over. Mars was in Cancer for the last 6 months. So it was challenging Cancers. Now, the first time that it was on the sun for me was in the winter, and I had a terrifying experience in a car. Car engine died, and I was in the middle of a highway, and I couldn't get out of the car, and I had cars rushing on both sides of me, and some getting very angry, and I was like bloody scared for my life. I'd never had that happen in my life. That was when Mars was on the sun for me. There was a bit of danger. Now, it retrograded, it came back, and Mars was on my sun again, but it was in early April this time. So I was aware, I'm like, oh, I'm being careful. I'm not getting in any vehicles. I'm not going to say yes to any kind of surgical procedure while Mars is on the sun, just in case. This time, though, what happened was I ended up getting a new book deal. I got a new contract, and I got a better contract than my last one. This is how Mars on the sun can play out. You see the extremes, like both were intense, but one was really scary and one was really great. So that's what you're going through, Leo. Mars is in Leo. If you're at the beginning of Leo, so like late July, 20s of July, it's on you. If you're later Leo towards August, well, you don't need to worry just yet. It'll still be there. But balance for now, because Mars and Leo is so passionate, and passion can mean anything from you know in love, head over heels, singing it on the hilltops, to angry as and screaming your head off. Temper. So balance is interesting then, and it's telling you to basically connect with nature. So the more you can go out in nature right now during your Mars period, the better. And it's good that now here in Canada, we're finally seeing the spring. You can get outside, and once it gets warmer, just take your socks and shoes off and put your bare feet on the earth and ground yourself. Let whatever passions rise, but don't be destructive about them. Use nature to help release it somehow. Release it. All right, Virgos. What is your new moon message? And you have intuition. Ah, lovely. Intuition. Embrace your intuition and the power of the feminine divine. Trust your inner guidance. Well, Virgos, usually you're analytical and you're in your head, and the South Node is still in your sign. And that's keeping you sort of pulled in your rational, logical, overthinking mind. And so your message is to trust your intuition right now instead of overthinking it. As my osteopath said to me the other day, stop thinking too much. So I was worried about my recovery and my perfect exercises, and if I do this and then that program and then add these things. And he just looked at me, he's like, Stop thinking about it so much. Just do it. Just move. And that was very liberating to hear, right? And Virgo, I speak to you because you know how it's easy to overthink yourself into a loop of inaction. And intuition is the opposite of that. You go with your gut, you've overthought it to death. So, based on your analysis, what is your gut feeling? That's the best damn advice for Virgo I think I've ever given. Based on your analysis, because that's what you do, stop it. What is your gut saying? Trust that you have enough info gathered that your gut is right now. Damn, I like that message. I like that message for you. Whew. Libra, what is your new moon message? Herbs, herbs. Nature's gifts are abundant. Utilize herbs for healing and magic. Very nice. So if you're humming and hawing, as you do as a Libra, maybe, but if, and then, and if maybe, and if only, and if this, then maybe you need a little magic. You can drink some herbal tea while you allow yourself to ponder and come to some sort of small, maybe intuitive conclusion about something. If it's your health, you could also take a look at some herbs that could help. We're not saying in place of your medication, and be careful with whatever herbal stuff, you want to ask somebody before you take stuff. However, herbs might be part of your solution, and people are not going to argue if you want to have chamomile or mint tea. It's still an herb that will calm or bring clarity. There's all kinds of things you could do with herbs to bring them into your life. You could also, as I do with sage, you could burn them for peace and clarity. You could use rosemary if you want to banish or send away strong negativity. Sage is also purifying and bringing in clarity and banishing, but not as strong as rosemary, but it's clarifying. And you can bring in lavender if you need some calm. Think about what herbs you could cook with and experiment a little bit here. And again, if there's anything that attracts you with this, you might want to take a look at herbal magic and see. There's all kinds of things you can do. For example, with cinnamon. Cinnamon is good for lowering blood sugar, but it's also used in a lot of abundance magic. So you might want to explore the herbal side. All right, Scorpios, what is your new moon message? Guidance. Okay, guidance. Very nice. Guidance. Seek guidance from within. The answers you seek are in the cards. Okay, that's sort of contradictory, isn't it? Seek guidance from within. The answers are in the cards, just exterior. All right, I'm gonna say if you have cards, tarot cards or whatever, this might be your time to use them to help stimulate your guidance. If you have an oracle deck, this could be a good time to stimulate them for your guidance. Otherwise, yeah, it's sort of about using the tools that you have and allowing your intuition to speak as you use them. And that could be, it doesn't have to be tarot cards. It could also be gems and pendulums, it could be books, could be walking in the woods and letting the trees speak to you. But it's basically whatever tool you connect to the strongest, that you know well enough to utilize them right now and let them speak to you and give you guidance on what you need to do next. Because the new moon in Taurus is opposite to you, and it's very much a relationship house. It's your partnership's house, and you know, it's opposite time to your Scorpio sun. It's your low time of year energetically, so you might feel that you need a little more guidance than at other times of year. All right, Sagittarius, what is your message for the new moon? You have the mysteries, and a key. Unlock ancient secrets. The past holds keys to your future. Well, that's a chunky message, like thinking about the past holding the key to the future. So that can mean anything from taking a look at your own personal life, your own history, in your own history and your own patterns. What can it show you about what you need to do now? The past holds keys to your future. It could also talk about your parents, or it might go back to your grandparents. It might go back in history to your ancestors as far as keys for how to help guide you forward. So you're looking to the past, your own past, your immediate family, or history. If you want a more general thing than your specific ancestors, you could say just history itself. Go back in history. A lot of people are doing that now. We see lots of videos on YouTube comparing different historical periods to now. Historically, when we've been in this kind of time, historically, these actions have led to this, you know? So if it's not your own, where you can say, well, in the past, typically, when I've been thinking like this, or when I've had this issue or that issue, this is what I've done, and that's worked for me. You might have to go further back, or you might want to go broadly with history itself. Very interesting. Capricorn, what is your message for this new moon? Focus. Focus, and it's a wand with some gemstones. Focus your energy. Your intentions hold great power. Well, if you've been finding it hard to focus, then that's exactly what it's going to take to get your answers. So I would say, yeah, I would say most of the time, if you get a focus message, it's because you're probably having difficulty focusing. So just like anything else, if it's a camera lens and it's not in focus, you can't see. So you either have to adjust your lens or wipe it off. Understand how far are you looking, you know, because focus is like, that could be, are you focused on me and my glasses? Or are you focused on the room behind me? Which am I looking at? Because the one I look at needs to be clear. The others will be more blurry. So are you focused on the near future or the long-term future? Are you focused on yourself or on another person? And then another message that comes to me with focus is ask yourself, what is getting in the way of me focusing? And that's tougher. You know, there might be a lot of things on your mind or bothering you. There could be some decisions that are dangling in the wind that need to be made. And every time you sit down and try to focus on something, you're disturbed by something else. And if you sit down and say, I really need to focus, and you can't, take a look at what you're thinking about when you can't focus, because that's probably where you need to make the change first. Aquarius, what is your message? You've got roots. Lovely. Connect with your roots. Ancestral wisdom guides you. So just like we said with the mysteries and the history, that was a different one. That could be your own history or ancestral or general world history. Roots is different. Roots means you go back to where your origins are. Where were you born? Where was your family from? What's your heritage? Where do you go back on the planet? What are your roots? And with Pluto in your sign, it makes a lot of sense to have the message of roots, because Pluto is such an upheaval energy that it's probably feeling like it's ripping the roots right out from under you sometimes. Especially if you're born at the beginning, meaning like late January. So connecting to your ancestral roots is where you're going to get the strongest sense of guidance and answers. And that's not a light or simple thing to do sometimes. You know, some people grew up with a strong awareness of their history. Their parents talked about it, their grandparents. Other people, no, they're just cut off from it. They came from a country, they've been in North America or they've been in Europe or whatever, and they've left their countries for so long that the stories have sort of died. They don't have a super clear connection to where they came from. They might feel a longing or an affinity, but they don't really get what it is. And other people, it's super strong, and they've had generations of stories and examples and things passed on, and they know where they came from and why. So your answers lay in understanding where you came from and why right now. And finally, Pisces, what is your message? Manifest, manifest. Yeah. Mix your intentions with care. Craft your desires into reality. Mix your intentions with care. That's a big message. Yes, be very mindful of what you're thinking and what your intentions are. When you send out your emotion, your desire, your intuition, which you're strong, very strong at, when you send that out into the world, because you tend to just sort of feel it all at once, it's all sort of synthesized, and you just sort of send it out there without thinking about it, and then you just let it go into the wind. So you have to be careful. What did you just release into the wind here? Was it a sack of dust, or was it a beautiful bird? So your manifesting potential is higher right now. So if you want to put your desires into reality, it just means you're in a period where you have to be extra careful of your thoughts, because you're sending them out there. Well, that was fun. I really like these cards. I don't know if they'll work to use them that often, but I will bring them out once in a while. If you are in need of a reading, or as I said before, if you want to join my Intuition Cafe, or if you would like to keep in touch with my newsletters, that would be awesome. And I have all the links down below. And I wish you a lovely new moon. And let's hope that we have as much consensus on our new leadership as possible, so we have more peace going forward. All right.